Let's talk about CDNs and regions to start. How does your platform handle traffic management and load balancing across multiple CDNs or regions? Can you explain the approach or strategies used to optimize performance and minimize latency?
As far as multi-CDN decisioning or traffic shaping, we have a homegrown solution. It's based off of existing technologies like an NS1 Pulsar or Sodexis or Citrix traffic manager. Insofar as we have RUM data that's really based off test object downloads, but we wrote our own RUM client, so it exists on all of our web properties. So think, CBS.com, CBSNews.com, ParamountPlus.com. When a user loads the page, we'll essentially compile a tasks runner in the browser, download a bunch of 1.5 meg objects, and then we have performance beacons that we aggregate, and we will stack rank CDN performance at the state or country and ASN, some geo and some in ASN denomination, and forward those to either a DNS provider, which makes our platform very much like a Sodexis or NS1, but we also will forward them to our manifest generation service and do decisioning or traffic shaping in the manifest. And pretty soon we'll be forwarding them to a HLS and Dash content steering service to do the enforcing of the decisions right in the client.
How many CDNs does?
Too many.
I was about to say, how many are we talking?
Yeah, no. So I mean, we're a large company, and a lot of the we're kind of right. We are the result of several mergers, right? And every company came with their own legacy CDN workflows. So we're trying to, I think, narrow down the list of vendors, but we're actively sending traffic to 7.
Wow.
And I think that the majority of the traffic is on 4 of those vendors. So it's our goal to agree on 4 going forward.
Yeah. Wow.
So if I can
Jeff,
pipe in. So it's a tremendous approach that you're taking, and I look at it and it saddens me that that's necessary, right? Is ultimately what it is. And I think the interesting conversation is why is there such disparity? You've got infrastructure that in many cases the CDNs all have caches effectively sitting in the same data centers with effectively the same connections to end users, and you're like, okay, how is it that one's outperforming the other? They're based often on the same original software, et cetera. So at the margins, they're tweaking things, et cetera. But I think that ultimately the fact that you have to jump through those hoops is one of the issues in the CDN industry as a whole, and that there's problems. It's not performing well. And so, I've been speaking at this conference about the economics. I think if CDNs are troubled, and I think one of the elements is the burden on the content publisher. You have to spend a lot of time and resources to navigate this disparate group of CDNs that aren't performing as they're supposed to. And I think that's because there's a lot of elements in the content delivery chain that I think Sergio had mentioned earlier that are necessary, and that you've got content being cached effectively at IXP level, and there's a whole host of infrastructure between them and the end user. And so something's getting hijacked in the middle that's causing you to say, oh, the performance is bad. Is it that there's the cable modems, it's this called the CMTS, the cable modem termination system. It's what your cable modem talks to. And the historical infrastructure was racks and racks and rooms full of pizza boxes that are effectively doing the modulation and the other media processing in order to get it down, to get lots of data down the existing cable infrastructure, which is sort of steadily being upgraded to push fiber further into the neighborhoods, but rarely, or sometimes, but rarely all the way to the home. And so the question is, how do you get a lot of data down an existing pipe, and how do you do it economically? And that's the hat I've been putting on for this whole conference, is like, okay, great, you come up with a technical solution, but if it doesn't make sense from a business point of view, which is what you're talking about, then you don't really have a solution at all. And so virtualizing that, we have something called the virtual CMTS. And so now you're saying, okay, and what used to be racks and racks of pizza box kinds of solutions now becomes Linux boxes running Kubernetes with applications running inside of them. So you can easily scale up and down as demand changes. You get a very popular game. You're going to send a lot more data down, and so you're going to need more processing. You just spin up more resources. It's very sort of cloud-like, which people are accustomed to. And so converting over from a physical hardwired solution to one that's more of a software solution is something that's giving cable companies a lot of flexibility and the ability to offer services much more cost effectively. And so not just price effective, but they're actually reducing their costs, gives them the ability to actually add more capacity without having to go to the bank and buy a whole lot more boxes. So ultimately, sort of a long answer to a short question, that's how we're helping people handle getting more content down the last mile, is we're reducing the cost of it. And that's enabling really a changing kind of situation where, okay, let's just send more data because we can do it cheaply.